it was good for them to see what was going on in the country in terms of the protesters.
As one would expect in a free democracy, opposition to United States involvement in the Vietnam War began in 1964, with small demonstrations protesting the escalating role of the U.S. military in Vietnam. After the heavy United States bombing of North Vietnam in 1965, the anti-war movement began to gain momentum on the national landscape. Over the ensuing several years, it grew into a broad social movement, and during the latter part of the 1960s and into the early 1970s, the movement helped shape a vigorous and polarizing debate on how to end the war. The anti-war movement arose during a time of unprecedented student activism.
We were coming out of the early years of the civil rights movement, where protest caused change, and we saw that.
The military draft mobilized the baby boomers, who were the most at risk, and it grew to include a cross-section of Americans.
The protest movement, in my opinion, was very important. It reinforced the feeling of our generation that we weren't just going to go along, and this wasn't some new evil force that was trying to take down the government. These were young people who were directly vulnerable to being drafted and had a say and a stake in the future of the country, who were having their say for the good of the country.
At first, it was those people over there are the anti-war protesters. And it didn't seem like it was related to you. And then it moved into my high school. They wanted to be able to invite anti-war speakers to like a student assembly. That was something that became a little bit contentious during high school. Not that we had, quote, pro-war people, but every spring the recruiters were allowed to come and speak to the seniors in school and say, please join. And the anti-war people wanted kind of equal time.
I didn't really understand the protesters against the war because I felt that anybody who was willing to put their lives at risk for their country deserved to be treated respectfully. Although, among my peers, it was very clear there were a lot of anti-war people.
Those people had brothers or dads or somebody, probably brothers, that already died in Vietnam, are coming back with a lot of problems, and they were protesting that. So why? Big question, why? And the politicians had no answers. So I backed the protesters. I thought their voices should be heard.
In my time over in Vietnam, we were somewhat aware of the protest. But quite honestly, we didn't care what they were doing. We were too busy trying to stay alive.
I'll bet you 50% of the protesters didn't know what they were protesting.
You know, I could understand the anti-war movement. I could understand the people going out there and protesting against the war. This is what I had a problem with, is why they had to say things about me and other individuals that were just absolutely false.
The baby killer thing, yeah, that's wrong, but unless you've been in the situation where people are trying to kill you, you don't understand the mindset and what you've got to do to survive.
They want to protest, let them protest, because we don't want them over there with us anyway. I don't want a protester backing me up.
Jane Fonda, sitting in North Vietnam on an anti-aircraft gun. Same type that used to shoot down our guys.
I was pretty upset about it, as a lot of us were. We're over there doing a job and putting our lives on the line, and a whole bunch of people are over here protesting that. I understand that it was political. Quite frankly, I wanted nothing to do with them.
I might not have agreed essentially with them, but I respected what people believed in, because they believed what they were doing, they thought it was right.
I'm grateful that they had the courage and the voice to speak out, and eventually the government listened, because there were a lot of lives that weren't taken because of their efforts.
They probably saved 25,000 casualties in Vietnam, because without that pushback from the whole U.S. society, we wouldn't have stopped that war when we did. We would have kept going, because the United States hates to lose, and we were losing. So I was glad they finally got it where they needed to get it, where they could get the war stopped. And when we have something that wrong, we need to step up and stop it. So I was glad they did that. I was never part of it, but I was glad they did it.
The Marine Corps kept contacting me to get a medal that was given to me in Vietnam, but I was already out of the service. And they wanted to have a newspaper there, and they wanted to present it. And I said, no, I'm not coming in, I'm not doing it. I said, mail it. No, we can't mail it, So we went back and forth for about a week. But one day I agreed to come down and get it, provided there'd be no press there, nobody. So I remember going in the recruiter's office, getting the medal, sticking it in my pocket, going back to work, never telling a soul, and then when I got home, I threw it away. It just set me off, and I wanted nothing to do with it. Don't admit that I was ever there. Washed my hands of it completely. But was it a smart thing to do? Probably not. But I felt good for a while after I did it.
I never cried my entire 13 months in Vietnam, so I thought I was pretty tough. But about 3 months after I got back, I tied one on, and I got drunk, and I cried all night, and I threw away my uniform, and I threw away a lot of my medals, and I burned a lot of the pictures I had. I wanted to forget about it. I think I was healed after that.
I looked at it completely different. I think the protesters did a great job of helping get us out of the war early. And had I known back then what I know now, I probably would have been one as well.
I think the seeds that came out of the protest movement that affects my group, my age group, is again, the sense of personal responsibility. You can't just let stuff happen. You or just go along. You have a duty to act and to do, and not just act against the government. I mean, act in terms of what you do in your life. And I think that those values still reside with a fair number of our age group.
Thanks for watching. For more stories like this, consider subscribing to this channel. Videos like this are only possible because of viewers like you. Learn how you can support this channel in the video's description.